Welcome to this video blog. I'm Mike James. I'm the coordinator for discipleship and assimilation for the Kentucky Baptist Convention. And we're glad today to have in our studio Dr. Steve Rice, pastor of First Baptist Church, Shelbyville. Welcome, Steve.
Thank you, Mike.
I've asked Steve to come to speak to us specifically about his membership 101 process that he has done in several churches that he has served, and how important that is to get people involved and for them to get to know their pastor in a personal way. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. Steve, let me ask you this. When we have membership 101 classes, the question always comes up, how long do you meet? Where do you meet? When do you meet? Tell me some ideas that you've used successfully on that question.
I think I know of about three approaches. One is to have it so short that you can do it in about an hour. I don't think you can cover the things that I like to cover in an hour. I find it takes at least 4 hours, 3.5, 4 hours. So if you're going to take, say, a 1 hour approach, often churches will say, hey, just hang around after the service. We're going to have pizza. We'd like for you to attend our Get to Know Shelbyville class. I think that's fine, but I think you'll have to have a class kind of attached to that one, maybe the opposite side of that coin that will lead from that class into the next one. The next level of a new member class is kind of what we do. Takes about 4 hours to cover the material, but I have moved it, played with it a little bit. Sometimes we'll do it in 6 one-hour sessions. That gives time on the front end to build in some relationship building, which is also important. It really provides time for folks to say, hey, well, what about this? Let me ask this question. And obviously you need to steer those questions a little bit and not chase a rabbit too far. But if folks feel like, hey, I can ask anything, and the pastors are open to that, I think that's good, especially in that setting when you've got, in some cases, folks who are not believers and they're there and they're interested. In many cases, they're new believers and they're trying to learn. And so if they find that their pastors are very open to any kind of question, that just says something about the church, I think, and about the pastors. So we try not to rush it. And so normally 4 to 6 one-hour sessions. There are other classes out there that'll go 12, 13 weeks. I think there's a place for that, but I have just found that it's very difficult to get a new person to commit to 13 weeks.
Yes.
And so that level of commitment is a good thing. Our discipleship classes are like that, most of them, 12-week semesters. But this new member class, a little bit shorter commitment. I personally have found in my churches that to be a little stronger.
So do you do these on a specific night or day? You mentioned the possibility of doing them, 6, maybe 4 to 6 you do it Sunday morning during Sunday school if they're new and not a part of a Sunday school class, or Sunday night, Wednesday.
Here's what we've tried at Shelbyville since I've been there 3 years. We've done them on Wednesday night, which is a big family night for us. We have a variety of discipleship classes that we offer. We'll offer 4, 5, 6, maybe 7 classes. And then some of those we would offer would be these core foundational classes, like in this case, Membership 101. We might offer the next level up for us. We call it Maturity 201, and maybe eventually over to the third level, Ministry 301, etc. So if you can offer it at a time when folks are going to be there anyway, that's key. We have offered it on Sunday morning, something that I'd never tried before. My associate pastor, Andy McDonald, kind of came up with this idea. He said, Pastor, why don't we get a current Sunday school class to host Membership 101? And I said, well, what do you mean by host? He said, well, they'll take 6 weeks, if that's what we asked for. They'll discontinue their lesson. And for those 6 weeks, their class will go through Membership 101.
Great idea.
And they will invite anyone else who might want to attend. Normally, I always teach Membership 101, but usually I share that responsibility with my associate pastor, Pastor Andy. But in this case, I taught it and I shared the responsibility with the Sunday school teacher. He was an excellent teacher, did an excellent job. And so 35 people in his class went through it. And then we probably had 8, 10 additional people, some people who weren't even in Sunday school attended that class, and some came from other classes just for that short 6-week time frame and attended that class. That worked wonderfully well. We'll try that again. In a few Saturdays, we're offering Membership 101 in just a morning session, basically from 8 to 12. That's not my preference, but sometimes that's the only way folks can come. Right. And so whatever you do, I think you have to offer variety, so folks schedule regardless of when they work, ball games, all those different kinds of things. They can take it if they are willing to take it and want to take it.
Great idea. And the idea of doing a Sunday school class, hosting it, you've got people who have been members a long time before you came that might have been through a process. We don't, but now they get to see what you do, and they could be some of your biggest supporters to invite others to it. But you also bring them up to the same expectation level that you're sharing with a brand new member, which could be different. So that's a wonderful
And I don't
idea.
think we should ever underestimate the strength of the pastor building those relationships, or if they're already established, strengthening those relationships, even with those folks who've been members for years. I'm a fairly new pastor there. So to get to know the folks in that particular Sunday school class more intimately, share with them, hear their heart, hear their questions, drink coffee with them as the class began, that time was invaluable. I treasure that time. I look forward to doing that with other classes.
That's great. Now, you believe, Steve, that the primary teacher for Membership 101 should always be the pastor?
I think not only the pastor, but the senior pastor. I think it says a lot of things. One thing it says is this is important. It's so important that I will give my time and energy to this class. In a lot of cases, if the new folks don't meet the pastor in that class and get to know him by name, they probably never will, unless they have some crisis in their life. It could be the church is small enough that will play out in other places or in other programs. But if the church is, 120, 200, it may not happen.
Right.
And it's important that it happens early. And so they view that senior pastor as their pastor. If you're going to share the vision and mission of the church, who better to do that?
Absolutely.
Than the senior pastor. If you're going to share the gospel, you would hope that your senior pastor is adept at making a very clear gospel presentation. If you're going to talk about the doctrine of the church, you would certainly expect the senior pastor to know who we are as Southern Baptists, or who we are in your particular denomination, and to be able to present that effectively in that setting. I heard Gerald Sharon say that a few years back. Gerald's on staff at Saddleback. Gerald's from Kentucky,
Right.
Very effective pastor here for years. I heard him say in a conference here in Kentucky that Rick Warren teaches every single Membership 101 class. And I don't know if that's true. Maybe Gerald just made that up when he was here. But if that's true, that just really stood out to me. It said certainly that even though that's a huge church, Rick Warren understands how important it is that the senior pastor teach Membership 101. I think he shares that responsibility with others, but it's so important. I've heard pastors say, hey, I'm too busy to do that. I would say, certainly with grace, if you're too busy to teach those hungry new members, you may need to reposition some of your priorities. It's so important.
Amen. Well, thank you, Steve. Just great advice on how to do a Membership 101 class, and I think you're right. I think members want to have a relationship with their pastor, and what better way to begin than to offer a class like that. We have some other helps for you. If you'll go to 28Nineteen.org, my blog, as well as the Kentucky Baptist Convention, you'll find other resources about starting and implementing a membership one-on-one class. Thank you for joining us today.